Good morning. This is Glenn Greenidge and Tom Pope, and we're having a conversation today around the Mayor de Blasio's proposed budget that was just released last week. Tom, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'd like to see some more details on how we're putting this in place. Some of the figures sound very interesting. Just to go over a few of them, we have 377 million for universal free K. And that's for all people. Now, the budget also talks about 122 million for EMS and social worker teams designated to respond to nonviolent mental health calls rather than the police department. We have 50 million for increased spending on seniors, including helping senior centers. Also, 234 million to hire 10,000 people to clean up trash, litter, and graffiti. 100 million in small business rental assistance grants, and 30 million in low interest small business loans. So we have a lot of interesting information. I wonder how this is going to be put in place.
Well, let's start out with the EMT and social workers that are going to be assisting. I assume they're going to be assisting the police and going out, taking some calls away from the police.
All right, now you just said something that's almost contradictory. Are they assisting, or are they doing this instead of the police? And I think this is something we have to really be clear on. If we're not careful with how this is put together, we could have a turf war going on between the professional healthcare people, social workers who are trying to diffuse a situation, and a police tactical unit that simply wants to shut down the problem, not even really thinking of de-escalation.
Right.
And if we don't have the wording down and strict guidelines, I could foresee a team of social workers arrive to create a stable climate, and suddenly police arrive and say, no, this is our operation. We have to avoid that tension.
Absolutely. And I haven't seen anything or heard of any other departments around the country that are actually looking to do what we're asking to be done here in New York City. So, I mean, we really are going to be sort of an experimental process, because you're right. Who's in charge? Who makes the call? Is it the police, or is it the social workers with the EMT? Do you de-escalate, or do you come in full force? Who's going to make that call? And with all of these situations, there are snap decisions that have to be made, and if there's not a clear line of command, then things certainly I could see getting out of hand.
Now, that I deal with a lot of fiction development with stories. Sure. Dealing with social issues. TV a while ago had a series called Da Vinci's Inquest that highlighted some of these very issues. In this course of the series, it showed how a mayor, this was a fictionalized account of a real situation. Okay. The mayor did exist, and his social plans were put together in Vancouver, Canada. But the interesting dimension about what we're talking about is when the mayor wanted to deal with bringing in healthcare workers, the rival was the chief of police. Also, the union backing the police did not want to lose jobs in a certain area. This is rerouting jobs, which it was an offense to the union, and the chief of police became a major obstacle. We have to find a way of avoiding that in New York if we want to put this in place.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I don't know that there's any clear direction. The mayor and the police commissioner are certainly going to have to work hand in hand to, clarify. And it's not going to be clear. I can see the operation taking some time to smooth out the kinks and to understand the relationships. Because I mean, it really is about the relationship to the incident, and how the agencies perceive working together, and then actually work together in a live situation. Sometimes the perfect training doesn't allow you to handle the situation, and you might have to make some calls that you hadn't prepared for prior to.
I'm also reminded, by the way, I think what we're also dealing with is the need to speed up gaining information about a particular person or family. When the social worker arrives to find, let's say, a family member being held hostage by someone holding a knife, the obvious thought by the police would be to eliminate the problem. However, we have to identify the problem. I'm going into the world of fiction again. For a while, a very popular TV show called Flashpoint showed a team of police arriving at a scene, but their whole emphasis was on de-escalation. One of the key aspects that made their team work effectively was gaining information via a teamwork approach through computers and getting in touch with family members to find out, why is that person holding a knife? What's going on? In many cases, we actually found the person holding the hostage was the victim of another problem. The police aren't going to be able to find that out if they go in blasting right away.
True.
This is something that has to be, and the only way to do this is to have quickly access to a person's history, or maybe find out something through relatives, have a group of people ask questions. And this can be done if you buy time by having a de-escalation approach between the person talking to the person wielding the knife and getting him to communicate.
Now, we've got all those shows on TV that have the computer person that is, once they get information, is quickly looking up that information and being able to provide the on-site crew with, at least some more details or some more timely information. Do you see that that's maybe where the direction that we may have to go in order to be able to have the information or additional information available when both parties, both the social worker and the police department, are handling these kinds of events or situations?
Well, it also requires, I think, thinking out of the box. Instead of asking the obvious main set of questions that make you think that Joe X is the perpetrator, maybe find out, well, why is he doing that? What happened in the last half hour? What happened in the last week? Why do we have a change in the person? What's going on?
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy task um, to be able to integrate these new ways of being, because we're actually talking about a paradigm shift in,
Right.
in policing. And you're talking about coming in with a de-escalation versus eliminate the issue directly, um, eliminate the threat. Um, it's going to be interesting. I don't know that we have any solutions, they have any solutions, but I think at least beginning to ask these questions as citizens, we can begin to at least provide some input into what we think or what we'd like to see as you interface with us.
Well, I don't think we can even begin to get into the real aspect of de-escalation if we don't first address the idea that this team of social workers and healthcare professionals should not be subservient to the decision-making of the police who arrive.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 That's going to be key. That is going to be key.
Any other thoughts?
No, I'm looking over that budget. I'm excited about the small business loans and the extending of rent, because I know that that's going to be a key thing for small businesses.
How does that amount compared with what's presently available?
Well, you've got the PPP, which is a small business administration's version that is geared specifically towards keeping employees employed over the COVID. And with that, you've got to spend 60% of the money that you get from the SBA through the banks, because it's not a direct loan. You have to come through the certified SBA lenders. But once you get determined amount of money, which is usually 2.5 times the 3-month period of January, February, and March of 2020, they do a factoring. And if you can spend 60% of those dollars, and then the rest of 40% you can spend on utilities, rent, catch-up rent, so on and so forth, that whole amount is forgiven. However, if you spend less than 60%, the whatever you spend will be deducted as forgivable, and then the rest of it you would have to pay back at a low interest loan of 1% for the next 5 years. So there's some programs that are available. I was just on a call last night with Renaissance Economic Development Corporation, and they have a recovery loan up to $50,000. It's a loan; it's not forgivable. But the city also has some grants that they're providing as well. So there's a combination of loans and grants that are being made available to small business.
Well, I think one big question is, in the present system, I'm assuming you probably have a number of small businesses that are left without being able to participate.
Well, that's been the situation with the PPP, and so I think that the mayor and some of the CDFIs, which are the financial institutions that are put in place to actually support the distribution of economic development to low income and minority communities, are providing programs that are able to help stop the gap and access to capital in a period of time that people need money.
Of all of the businesses that need this assistance, what percent would you say aren't able to get it?
Wow. I'm not really sure on that. I'm gonna take a wild guess on that. And I'd say probably 30 or 40% of the small businesses, um, for whatever reason, lack of paperwork, not having the papers in order that they need to have for payroll, not having it certified, um, just different kinds of things, um, are probably preventing some of the smaller businesses because the older
It's not a question of the funds not being available.
it's a question of the paperwork sometimes. Sometimes when you're a smaller business and you're the only person doing everything, you can't get to some of those other things and
So maybe
assistance.
maybe what's also important, and here again is another detail, if the mayor wants to have a certain amount for small businesses, maybe we have to include some type of educational training unit within that to help those businesses put the paperwork together.
Well, they would definitely need some technical assistance, and hopefully that's going to be part of what's being provided, as part of the allocation. So, but again, we don't know this. We're not sure how that's going to take place.
The devil is in the details.
Always is, my friend.
Well, anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think those are the two main things from the mayor's budget that I think are probably going to be showcased. And I do like the fact that universal pre-K is important because getting a leg up on education is critical, and you can see the difference from the students who don't go to pre-K that kind of show up to kindergarten and they're already behind the eight ball. So there are some interesting things in this program.
Well, once again, if you like what you see, get in touch with us at Facebook. That's Community and Social Change.
Thank you.